First of all, thank you for not giving us too much C-3PO.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, gentlemen.
For those of you watching the video, we have new toys.
Hey guys, Star Wars came out on Wednesday or Thursday or maybe Friday, depending on who you ask.
It did?
A week ago. And
Yeah, it was a week. Sorry, we didn't.
So much money.
Is that the important part, Norm?
No. The important part is the spoiler alert about Star Wars is that it's good.
If you haven't seen Star Wars The Force Awakens, don't listen to this podcast yet.
Did you just throw an X-Acto knife?
I tried to stick it on the table, but it landed on the floor.
Underhand. This is going to be a spoiler cast for episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and I think this week we shouldn't. Okay, we should, as we usually do, we should take a brief moment.
Yes.
And talk in a non-spoilery way.
By all means.
And just, I mean, I just think we should say that, hey, the movie's really good. It's not perfect by any means, but nothing ever is. I think it's definitely worth watching in the theater. The thing that I was most taken by in a non-spoilery way is that, you know, in that first teaser trailer, the tracking shot of the Millennium Falcon flying right by the old busted up Star Destroyer that's on the planet's surface.
That's right.
Yeah.
I found that really hard to watch on small screens.
Yes.
It was impossible to tell what was going on. Totally works in the theater.
And I'll tell you, if you're going to watch in theaters, I've seen it twice in IMAX now and one in a Sony 4K cinema. IMAX is the way to go. And the scene that Will is specifically referring to is actually one of the only IMAX scenes in the movie.
Oh, really?
So this,
I didn't realize that.
This was and it wasn't shot. They're showing it in 3D. Almost all of the screenings here are in 3D. It wasn't. It's post 3D, right?
It is post 3D. There are actually about 40% of the income for this movie is 2D screening. So 2D did very well for this. So there are lots of 2D. I will say that if you're not watching in IMAX, 2D is a great way to watch it.
I enjoyed this.
2D.
I saw it in both 3D. I saw it in 3D IMAX in Fresno. I took my whole crew to see it last Saturday.
Nice.
Last Friday. Yes. Yeah. And then I saw it in 2D here at the Alamo Draft House on Sunday,
which is a great way to watch it.
Wonderful.
Also.
Yeah. I saw a 2D screening and it was wonderful.
Can we talk spoilers?
Nice. Just as a side note, if you live in San Francisco, and more specifically, if you're anywhere near the Mission District, your life has just totally changed because the Alamo Draft House opened up in the new Mission Theater on Mission Street between 21st and 22nd. And I'm just going to be there every other day.
Hyper local Star Wars.
Hyper local, wonderful movie theater with a full bar and full restaurant menu with good food, good people, 5 different movie theaters, 190 seats, several between 30 and 40 seats, and then one, I guess it's like 300.
Yeah, the 300 one. That's the one actually playing 2D Star Wars.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's great. The sound is great. I'm so happy.
It's a movie theater for people who love movies.
Exactly.
And I would even go as far as say it's a movie theater that's better for movies you've already seen, these second run movies and the revivals and the fun audience engagement events, because there's the whole drinking and eating, throughout the movie.
It's a little more festive.
It's more festive.
It's kind of like the upstairs at the Kabuki.
But we're delaying the discussion of Star Wars.
So spoilers start right now.
Spoilers start right now. We've all got our Luke sabers. Are you guys ready? Here, I'm going to put mine there and try and... No, it's not working.
Special effects are turned off.
The force is not strong with this one.
Okay. I saw the movie on Thursday night. It was nice to go to a Star Wars movie in a theater that I didn't immediately hate.
Actually, this was a question I got several times on tour. What are you looking forward to about the new Star Wars movie? And my response was, I'm really looking forward to enjoying a third Star Wars movie.
Okay.
Oh, you're such a troll. Adam.
Yeah, look.
So
Jedi is a good movie.
Jedi is absolutely, it's a good movie. I think
it's
including the
it's
Ewoks.
Fine. It's not good. It's
Jedi
fine.
has the best space battles out of any Star Wars movie. I would say almost including The Force Awakens, because The Force Awakens actually does not have
there was no space battle.
any space battles at all.
Wow,
it's
interesting.
all lower terrestrial battles, which is a very cool thing to do.
Yeah,
and it allows them to do really cool effects.
Okay.
The experience of watching this particular Star Wars movie is unique because of the internet. And leading up to Thursday night, 7 p.m., One of the reasons, not only to want to be the first in line and to watch one of the first screenings, was also so you can embrace internet again. Uh, I stayed
Right.
offline. Did you guys stay offline before?
I
Try your
managed
best to.
I managed, despite the best efforts of idiots and jerk faces out in the world, I managed to not see any spoilers.
Good.
And by the way, if your life requires you to like change your username for something to a spoiler, that's just like, yeah.
I got spoiled by BuzzFeed.
Really?
Yeah.
By
But
the comments?
no, by Katie Natopoulos.
How
What
so?
did she write?
She tweeted something that had the spoiler, the big
Oh.
one.
What?
Yeah, Han
Yeah.
dies.
Yeah.
How did she do that?
She put a picture, and then the image was in the pop up on the. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I don't care about. I'm the
still-
least spoilery caring person in the world,
Right.
because I knew with reasonable certainty that when they announced that Harrison Ford was coming back for another Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
based on his previous comments, that if he didn't die, he was basically going to get all of Disney for appearing in the movie. So I assume that they were killing him off in the film.
I was thinking, they could probably make another 20 minutes of the next film just by not having to pay his fee.
Yeah.
And the movie ended up being a lot about him. So
It was much more about him than any of the
That's
original Star
And it
Wars
was
movies,
lovely.
which was great.
So
It was great.
wait. Should we start methodically through
right,
this?
yeah, exactly. Let's preface, and we haven't discussed this beforehand. So
We haven't.
What's our
Yeah.
best? Yeah, we held all our conversations for this for you guys. There are a lot of things, little details you want to call out, a lot of things about the experience. So let's start off by talking about the things we liked.
I loved the characters. Like, I loved the new characters specifically.
Yep.
I thought that Rey and Finn and Poe
funny and great, and
even Adam Driver.
I thought Adam
Kylo
Driver
Ren
was
was great.
phenomenal. I thought that
Amazing
that,
hair.
that Kylo Ren was a good, scary villain who still managed, from a costume standpoint, to feel like a mini Darth Vader. Like his helmet is slightly diminutive, although reminiscent.
Well, it has the Asian inspiration that
Samurai.
the samurai inspiration. and all
Samurai
that stuff.
meets Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was immediately taken aback when he took off the helmet that first time. And I thought, oh shit, it's Adam Driver from Girls.
Oh,
And then I mean I knew it was him, right? But like
made it very
that
explicitly
reaction was,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's that guy from that thing. And then I immediately forgot about it. So like if that was one of my
So the character's great. Adam, we'll go in circles.
Okay. I loved that he, how do I put this? Julia turned to me about 20 minutes into the film and she went, "Isn't this the plot of Star Wars?" And I said, "Yeah, pretty much. But let's be clear. I think it's pretty much, it's hard to argue that James Cameron might be the best sequel writer
Absolutely.
But
James Cameron understands audiences.
he understands audiences, he understands franchises, he understands what the audience wants from the first film to carry to the second. But one of the things that he has done is he hasn't gone too far off the reservation. And the structure of
You mean J.J. Abrams?
No.
Oh, James
I'm
Cameron
starting
still.
with
Okay.
Cameron, but I'm going to transfer to Abrams. Is, the thing about Terminator 2 and the thing about Aliens that are so great is they very closely follow the structure of their predecessors while elaborating in some deeper ways.
Now,
And
I think
adding
we're gonna
something really
disagree.
new. Yeah, I'm
Adding
going to
something
disagree
new.
with you.
And
We're
on
going
that.
to disagree with it.
Well, I think that I felt like I was watching a plot that was as goofy as Star Wars, and yet it totally fit.
Well, it
Right,
was
but-
as goofy as Star Wars because it was Star Wars.
Right.
Like it's
So,
the same movie.
If I get what you're saying is that you think that what Abrams did here is what Cameron does so well with his films, which is bring the things, understand audiences, bring the things that people love about the originals, and then did something new with it.
But also follow, the structure of, you find some waif, some orphaned waif on a desert planet and inject them into a resistance where they meet a big baddie and some father figure's going to die. Boom. It's pretty much Star Wars.
So where I disagree, and I'm interested
Yeah.
to hear what
Yeah.
Will says about this, is I think he does the first part right, but he doesn't in no way makes it his own the same way that Cameron made Aliens his own.
That's my
and-
feeling.
in the same way that
I don't
Terminator
disagree
2
with that. I don't disagree with that. And that is yes, I don't disagree with that. But I think that's what Abrams, I feel like Abrams is almost a conduit in at some points. Like I think 8 millimeter, no,
No,
Super 8.
Super 8.
Super 8.
I'm always
Please.
getting those. Why did he name it something so close to a snuff film starring Nicolas Cage?
It wasn't a snuff film.
I
It was
know.
a movie anyway.
Super 8.
Yeah, Super 8
And
millimeter.
Super 8 is to me, he's bottle fed on Spielberg, and he takes that, and I felt like he was giving me back my childhood, what I wanted from episode.
Well, that had
1.
the twist. That had more of a twist on the ET formula than this does on the Star Wars formula. And I think part of the problem with taking the theme and the structure of Star Wars and updating it is that it's the core theme that's shaped cinema, this type of cinema, for the last 30, 40 years, which is, it's the hero's journey, right? It's
Joseph
the
Campbell.
unknown,
Right.
comes up, goes blah, 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 all the way through, saves the universe.
You talk
Yeah.
about the two most successful per movie franchises in cinema history. It's Star Wars and Harry Potter, and both of those are the same story.
Right.
It's the hero's journey. It's Joseph Campbell, Hero of a Thousand
Yeah.
Faces. And so if his approach is, and this could be his plan, it's on the macro level, where his new trilogy is the idea of taking a myth and myths get reborn, maybe literally, maybe figuratively here, then he has succeeded, because this is Star Wars, the myth reborn.
Yes, and I think that's exactly. I can't say that I wanted more than that. That for Abrams to say, and then I'm going to put my personal stamp to change this thing.
But okay, so
But I mean,
the droid
look,
comes to the
we're
desert planet, finds the unknown person who happens to be the Force sensitive.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that the Force is driving the whole thing, and that the great power in this movie isn't plot, but it's the Force.
The narrative.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the narrative, exactly. Thanks,
No
John
one-
Scalzi.
I just like with the hero with 1,000 faces and all that, notwithstanding, I don't think anyone ever held up the screenplays of Star Wars and Empire for being masterpieces of clever cinema writing. They are. To me, it's different. It's more visceral. It's more emotional, and like it's satisfying on a different level than a Fincher film or something like that,
the dual challenges
or a
of
Tarantino.
The Force Awakens seems to be, one, create a satisfying sequel, and
Right.
this isn't just a prequel. This is actually a sequel,
Yeah,
which I think
yeah.
was even harder to do than a prequel. A satisfying sequel for the fans of the original, of which there are legion, and two, create a new story that for someone who's maybe 6 years old or 7 years old or 8 years old who's watching this movie for the first time, this can be their quote unquote Star Wars, the trilogy, the original trilogy for them.
And yet does not pander to a bunch of kids buying toys. It doesn't give us Shia LaBeouf as Indiana Jones's son kind of
Yep.
bullshit. And also, let me just say, like when I say the paragons of clever cinema, I mean I love Star Wars and I love Empire for two totally different reasons. I mean, Star Wars is a hungry little movie, and aesthetically, forget about it. But Empire is wonderful, and I loved Kasdan's writing. This is one of the best screenplays he's written in a long time, I think. And I loved hearing Han Solo's voice come out of Harrison Ford so well.
So the thing to me was, maybe the Star Wars movies that I love were because of Larry Kasdan. Like I agree. I completely agree with you. There was a lot of the tonality of Empire in this movie.
Super.
It was very fast in the way that Empire is.
Rescue now, escape now, hug later.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally goofy.
I
right?
mean, and the thing that this didn't have to do, that Star Wars did, the first Star Wars did, is that intense period of world building. So if you think about Star Wars, you think about the entire cold open
Right.
on Princess Leia's spaceship. Basically, he sets up the entire world. You know who the good
Yeah.
guys are. You know who the bad guys
Yeah.
are. You know that the bad guy is incredibly evil. You know that, space fascists, the
Mhm.
whole thing.
Mhm.
The cold open I thought was kind of weak.
Hmm.
I was
It was
like,
a little
it looked
weaker
small.
than the 10 of 4, but I think it was. I mean, it echoed the 10 of 4, introducing the Force, introducing a powerful villain. I think Adam's mention of Indiana Jones is extremely apt. Star Wars here succeeds in the way the fourth Indiana Jones movie, which doesn't exist, didn't. In that was a sequel, but didn't do anything to itself. It was pure fan service and did it poorly.
Mhm.
Here, it's fan service, serve the fans of the original as a sequel, but then it holds in itself. The fact that you like the new characters so much and you're happy to watch their journey, I think speaks to its success.
Well, but the conceit of the fourth Indiana Jones movie should have is the thing that we're asking for here. So maybe Adam's right. Maybe asking for this is wrong. You know, they took the pulpy adventure serials that were the inspiration for the original Indiana Jones, moved it forward 20 years, and it was a world of science fiction and Russians, and it completely fucked up the whole thing.
Right. Plus, I think that Spielberg and Lucas changed our whole world, and in many ways, in great ways, and in many ways, in some really not terrible ways, but ways that didn't necessarily make for great films.
They kind of are the Eagles of film.
Because I see Temple of Doom, and all I see in the mining cart chase is an amusement park ride. I just feel like I'm seeing a direct, here you go, spoon feeding me.
Well,
and I didn't feel that in this. And the same thing with the pod races in episode
the pod races were there for video games.
Right. No, I know.
Yeah.
And in this, I didn't feel, even though the world in which all of these terrestrial space battles occur is very much like, what is the Star Wars video game that's out right now called? Battlefront. So I played a bunch of that on tour. We bought it for the PlayStation on the bus, and my son and I played a bunch. And it's beautiful. But I didn't feel like the movie was forcing me to go buy that game to live all these moments.
The thing that I said to my wife when we walked out of the theater is there were fewer spaceships in this than any other Star Wars movie ever.
And if I have one thing that I found really slightly lacking in Force Awakens was I didn't see enough of the ships that existed, and that really bugged me.
No Y-wings or B-wings.
I don't mean
mention the Republic fleet.
No, I know what you mean.
I mean the fewer species of ships.
No, I agree.
The fewer toys to sell.
But I also say that I didn't get to. Star Wars is full of master shots of ships. The full frigate, the medical frigate, the blockade runner.
Return of the Jedi, when the Millennium Falcon is weaving through the capital ships on the final assault on Death Star 2.
Yeah.
Amazing. And they did that without CG. And here, it's just X-Wing. It's just one type of TIE fighter. No interceptors, no special ones.
I didn't mind the lack of the species. I just wanted to see when Han's ship picks up the Falcon, I wanted to see the entirety of his ship. I wanted to see what it looks like. I know that they built a model. Also, we're talking intellectually, but I'd like to state for the record, the number of... You all right?
Yeah. Open the door.
We're talking about this intellectually, but I would like to talk about the fact that I cried like 5 times during this. I got weepy when we saw the Millennium Falcon. I got weepy when we saw the lightsaber. I got weepy when Han and Chewie walked in and said, "Chewie, we're home."
The first lightsaber fight.
Yes,
I was like, this is so good. I can tell what's going on. I like this. This is making me happy to the point of tears.
Yes,
right?
I got weepy when Han and Leia got together and talked. I thought that all of that was pitch perfect.
The amount of introductions, so in terms of it being a sequel for the old characters, it was mainly a Harrison Ford using him as opposed to Leia and Luke. Very smartly done. And what the writers said, Michael Arndt, who actually is credited, he did the original screenplay, which then was scrapped. Parts of it were adapted. He said he tried to integrate Luke into the story in one of his first drafts, and you can't. They made Luke a MacGuffin in this movie. The whole point of the movie is finding Luke. The first line of the scroll is Luke Skywalker has vanished. And you don't see him to the very end. It's because anytime you introduce an original trilogy character, someone is important. They take over the movie, and it doesn't allow then the new characters to breathe.
So do you think that the new trilogy is the Han Solo movie, the Princess Leia movie, the Luke Skywalker movie?
No, I don't think it's going to be framed that way. I think that they'll use Carrie Fisher maybe as little as possible. There will be a lot of Luke likely in the next one.
I think that we were debating, my kids and I, whether the next movie opens post-training, interrupted.
No, they have to show training.
It interrupted. If it starts post-training, I guarantee you there'll be flashbacks. Or you start mid-training and it gets broken, just like Empire.
Star Wars has never done flashbacks, has it?
I don't think
That's
so.
a good question.
Yeah.
So
only dreams.
I want to go.
Visions, flash forwards.
I was talking about all the places in which I got weepy.
Yeah, I heard that. The introductions of the characters. One of the really funny things about watching this, because there's Star Trek 2009, which I still think it's maybe controversial. I think is J.J. Abrams' best work. Still,
I think it's a masterpiece.
Star Trek 2009,
one of the great franchise reboots
Mission Impossible 3 is real good, guys.
It is absolutely.
is.
I love,
No.
and he has made.
But Star Trek
fantastic
2009,
films.
I'll watch anytime
I will
it's on.
hold that Star Trek
Yeah.
2009
You're
is
right.
better.
And there are a lot of elements.
Because he takes Kirk and he makes it his own, just as Chris Pine does. But
That's
go
right.
ahead.
Yeah.
And in relation to Star Trek 2009 and Into Darkness and this movie, those are training movies to make The Force Awakens. There are many shots, the chase of the Millennium Falcon inside the Star Destroyer. That felt like when Kirk and Spock were being chased by the bird of prey.
Well, I was gonna say that reminded me of the tracking shot that you mentioned in Return of the Jedi too. That's what I saw there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think he was playing homage to that. When Finn chases after Rey and when she's being kidnapped and there's a long running shot, that is the same. He practiced that in Mission Impossible 3. He practiced it that in Into Darkness, and that is the moment. That is the Khan moment done right. And so I think, but the most interesting thing I think, and the thing that almost took me out of this movie is in watching Star Trek 2009. I felt like you think, okay, is Zachary Quinto getting Spock right? Like, there's a moment of oh my God, Bones. Carl Urban got Bones right.
Unbelievable.
And you have that moment of, okay, they got the actors right, and they're making their own, and you run with it.
It's kind of like karaoke though.
It is a little bit.
Yeah.
In this movie, every time Harrison Ford was on screen, at least in the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, is he getting Han Solo right? And
Really?
It took me, I think, a few scenes until he then. I think the one where there are moments like when he's running down the halls and the way he's running, then I fell into it.
Actually, I really loved. I thought that right away when he's like, I thought it was all a bunch of malarkey, but it turns out it's true, all of it. I thought that was real. I bought
That was a
into
really
it.
powerful moment. I thought. Yeah.
I want to talk about the moment in which Kylo Ren takes off his helmet, because I also had a little bit of a bit where I'm hearing Adam Driver's voice, and I was like,
I didn't mind the voice. The voice I thought was good because I thought the modulation and stuff they did on it was really, really cool.
the
It was
modulation was terrifying of
Yeah.
Kylo Ren. It was perfect.
It was like what they did with Xerxes in 300, where
Right.
it's the same actor.
Yeah.
They didn't use two actors, but it actually did. You heard him through the voice,
Yes.
and it made him menacing. And so when he took the helmet, that's when he's interrogating Rey.
And the interrogation of Rey, I submit, might be my favorite scene in any Star Wars movie. I thought that the shift in power that occurs during that scene where
Oh, yeah.
she finds the Force and you watch her fear turn to confidence and his confidence turn to fear. Two actors really, really selling that moment so subtly and lovely. I'm going to see the movie again this week, by the way. I'm
Yeah, me
taking
too.
my mom. I'm probably going to see it a fourth time. I'm enjoying the spit out of sitting through it.
And it's never, just to be clear, I don't think this is going to show well at home.
You don't
Compar-
think so?
No, the shot, it's too big.
I'm not
And
sure.
and there, I mean,
It's
one
got
of
the Pacific
3D
Rim
reasons
problem.
is there are some lingering shots with Star Destroyers where in IMAX 3D, it is like there's a giant Star Destroyer right in front of you with all the CG detail, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
But I love that interrogation scene.
I thought that was the pivot for the movie, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, like-
totally. And it's where I've read all of the complaints about how the plot is goofy, and I submit to you any one of your childhood action adventure films also has a plot similarly as goofy. But
I loved the arc that Rey had.
I totally
Like,
and I
it's-
thought that Daisy Ridley was brilliant.
Oh, it's so good.
Really,
So
really
so
good, and I love a strong, wonderful directed female character.
So no, not a lot of lens flare in this, but I think the way that JJ, just in terms of his direction of action, the ways he made it his own, which I found so much pleasure in. One, X-wings destroying TIE fighters and TIE fighters falling apart in pieces, not just nebulous explosions, but being chunks falling off,
Crumbling, yeah.
crumbling. That was beautiful.
Yep.
And it worked with that.
Like the
terrestrial flight.
Finn Poe TIE Fighter crash was amazing.
Yeah, and then there's
Yep.
there's actually an Avengers long shot. When we say like the end of Avengers, that huge long sequence, you have the Poe shot where he's flying, he's sniping TIE fighters out of the sky,
I cried at that.
and then hitting the stormtroopers on the ground. And Finn says a line that otherwise would be hokey. He goes, "Oh, that's a great pilot."
Well, I
And
mean,
he's like, "Wow, yeah, he is."
Here, that's the thing. That's one of the things. Like at the beginning of the movie, when Kylo Ren had captured Poe, and he's interrogating him, he says, "Oh, we have who knew we had the world's greatest pilot, the universe, galaxy's whatever."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be like that. That's not good." And then he earned it.
He earned
Well,
it.
and here's where I think, and this is almost classic Kasdan to me, is you have your requirements for the character. Like, oh, we want the audience to know that this guy is both the hero, so you can say in movies, He's the hero. And
Yeah.
so, okay, now we know. But you have to also earn those things, right? So Poe Dameron's going to be a pilot, which means he's not just good at flying, but he's also incredibly smart. And so the first interaction he has with Finn, where Finn's like, it's the right thing to do. And Poe goes, you need a pilot. And he's like, I need a pilot. It's one of the first laughs
Yeah.
of the film, but it's also this great moment because you realize Poe is really smart.
Yeah, he's a
Even
leader.
in this, he's been tortured and shit's going down. He's smart enough to pick up, oh, I see where this is going.
You're
Right.
stuck
You don't
here.
give a shit about me. You need a pilot. Cool.
He's like the rogue leader.
Yeah.
And I like that he's actually a supporting cast member. You don't get his arc. He's like Wedge in the
Yeah.
original Star
I think
Wars
he has to end up
plus.
being a bigger character.
Oh,
in the-
I'm
in the-
sure.
in
It's-
the
he's-
next
he's
movie.
part of the
because he owns
ragtag.
BB-8,
He was
right?
supposed to die in
Yeah, he
the
was.
original
Yeah.
screenplay.
Oh, really?
found
In
a way.
fact, when they cast Oscar Isaacs, they told him, "You're not after the crash on Jakku. That's it for you." And he was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And when he's apparently just at the same time he agreed to do it, Abrams was like, he should have an arc through the whole film.
And when
Yeah.
his return, when the X-wings come, that is a chilling moment when you see them in the distance. It's the resistance.
Along with also so happy to see Greg Grunberg in this movie.
Who's Greg
Greg Grunberg
J.J.
is one
Abrams'
of
best friend.
Abrams' best friends. And
He's his good luck
been
charm.
in every Abrams thing
was he?
since
That's good.
Felicity.
He's the new Porkins.
Oh, he's the big.
Newport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't he get blown up though?
No, he comes back.
Okay.
The
I just
pilot from
assumed
Lost. The
any-
pilot that dies in the
Yes.
pilot of Lost.
Any-
He's,
Anytime
he's
you-
Felicity. He's he's in Star Trek 2009 as James Kirk's voice, the stepfather on the bring back my
Oh.
car. Yeah.
Did you like the Daniel Craig cameo?
What was his cameo?
He's the stormtrooper that Ray mind controls.
Yeah.
Force
Oh, no
controls.
way.
You can hear his voice too. So
I didn't know that.
I was sitting there, I was like, man, that voice is really familiar to me.
the other two things, the three action things. One, the lightsaber fight, the fighting style of Adam Driver, I think it was much less samurai, much less kendo than the previous ones. It was way more broadsword. There was a weight to it.
So it was a weight to it, and it's very much, that I don't know how much they transferred the lightsaber style that was built for the prequels to this film.
I would think not much, given
But
the.
I loved
yeah.
how while sitting there waiting, he'd do the waving
Yeah.
and how sort of messed up his lightsaber was. Not a clean blade, but sort of
Right. It was
Like,
like
he was-
spitty was what they called it. And it was actually an idea in the concept art. It's not that way at all. J.J. Abrams had a conversation with Johnny Ive, and Johnny Ive of Apple was actually the one who inspired J.J. Abrams to make it kind of fiery and spitty.
janky.
really.
Yeah.
Is it janky? I got janky.
It
from
is. And
Yeah.
if you look at the prop, it's one that he hand built himself because he's not
Yeah.
he's not
Adam Driver?
No, it's not. The Kylo Ren built it because he's not a real
Don't be
Jedi.
Well,
or
but the
Sith.
Jedi's all built their own lightsabers. That's the story.
He didn't build it right.
But I mean, that's the thing.
Training is
So
incomplete.
that was one of the things I loved about the film is that Kylo Ren, you initially see him, you think, oh, he's Darth Vader. He's really a huge badass. And then as you watch him fight and you see his spitty lightsaber, you realize, oh, maybe he's not so good at this. Maybe
Right.
he has some work to do
Yeah,
still.
no, and he's he is the best guy in his world, but he hasn't been fully challenged.
Right. And then the mirror to that, another one, is when Rey picks up the lightsaber to fight him. It's the first time she's ever handled one, and she's kind of figuring out she's doing stuff that you never have seen done with a light. Like you've never seen somebody try to stab somebody with the point of a lightsaber before, and she does it 3, 4, 5
I
times.
know,
I'm
it's
just
a
sitting there thinking,
constant- and she
stop
actually-
fucking stabbing him.
And she hits him a couple
Oh,
times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
but like that whole the neophyte versus slightly better neophyte.
Yeah. was wonderful.
really good,
dynamic.
yeah.
And I loved that Finn.
Yeah.
That lightsaber belongs to me. Come and get it. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, full admission, I saw Hans Death coming from a way away.
When they
I
signed the
saw
contract.
the lightsaber going to Rey instead of Kylo Ren coming from
Oh, everybody in
a
the
while
theater knew that Rey was going to go to Rey.
All
Yeah.
of those beats were clearly. I think sometimes we get like people see movies like that. I've been reading some comments and people think, well, that's bad screenwriting if I saw it coming. And I
No.
understand sometimes surprises are good, but all you've got to do is watch Strictly Ballroom, which is to me this one of the great examples of a film in which every story beat is telegraphed about half an hour beforehand, and it does not matter. It is totally enjoyable all the way through because story has to do with a contract between the storyteller and the listener, and that contract includes beats that that sometimes are totally going to happen, and yet all they need to do is happen satisfyingly.
It's
Execution.
really easy to do some gotchas and say, oh no, make miracles happen from nothing.
Right.
It's much, much harder to make a believable miracle happen. And that's what this movie does. Now, the one thing I thought was completely
Wait,
okay.
hold on. The third action thing I think.
Are you gonna talk about the
Yes.
monsters?
No, the third action thing I think.
Oh.
Also going back to what J.J. Abrams did with warp drive in Star Trek 2009, he made warp his own by making it a violent action. Like when the Enterprise warps, it's like a bullet.
Right.
It's not like the buildup of the old series of Roddenberry.
Right.
He did that to the Force. The use and representation of Force powers when Kylo Ren holds the blaster in the beginning in midair.
You mean the bolt?
The
The
bolt.
bolt.
Yeah.
When
That was amazing.
Yeah.
that's a gas moment. When
Yeah.
when Rey puts a blaster to him and then he swings her arm down and it's shaking.
And in fact, her being held by his force was violent and intense in a way
Yes,
that the other movies
exactly.
had. I
Yeah.
totally
And
agree
so
with
that
you.
I think he made it his own and was like a wonderful interpretation.
The other thing that I thought he did better than anyone else who's done Star Wars was monsters. Both monsters and other sentient characters.
And he did that with a mix of CG and
Exactly.
some wonderful practicals, which we'll
The
talk to
creatures, yeah.
Frank about in another podcast because I want to hear his take on that.
The cantina scene, obviously.
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined a better
Agreed.
alien bar.
Yeah.
Maz, the character being
Maz was wonderful.
So-
Lupita Nyong'o's
I hope
voice.
we see Maz. Well, in her face, they face cap. They mocap
did
her.
they?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did
totally
the
performance
dots.
capped her.
Yeah.
Her version of Linda Hunt was wonderful.
Her first line, "Where's my boyfriend?" The way she said that,
I like that
I
Wookiee.
like that Wookiee. That's so great.
Chewbacca. Chewbacca's all over this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's wonderful to see him again.
So the other guy who played Chewbacca
So
did
what-
not get a screen credit.
There
Oh.
were
Peter
two
Mayhew got
Chewbaccas,
it. Well, Peter Mayhew was in it for many of the scenes,
like
but
sitting and standing.
Yeah, I don't think Peter Mayhew could have done a lot of the action sequences.
Yeah,
so
but
there
that's a
was
stunt double. That's
Yeah, I guess it was a stunt
come on.
guy. Yeah,
Peter Mayhew is Chewbacca. Let's
Yeah.
be really clear.
Chewbacca's funny.
Chewbacca's
He's
funny.
so funny when
The-
he gets
the-
the medical attention. Oh,
Mhm.
you're so brave. Like his nods, his interactions with Han.
The Han, no, this isn't like I'll just talk my way out of it. That line on the freighter was amazing.
It was. Now,
BB-8.
Oh, hold on, but
Before
monsters.
you get to that,
The scale of the monsters, he varied wildly, and he
Yes.
used CGI in a really smart way rather than using it as hey, let's just have a bunch of dewbacks here or whatever.
yeah.
The
Would you consider
tentacle
Snoke?
monsters on the freighter.
Okay, the Rapthars.
Yeah.
So whatever they were called,
Grabthars,
Grabthars, hammers. I can't remember. They were the most J.J. Abrams monsters in the movie
Yeah.
Yeah.
by a pretty wide margin.
Didn't
I
mind.
was fine with it.
Didn't mind. Julia had a comment before you get to. Julia had a comment which my wife had a comment which I really agreed with, which I agree with, and she said, in Star Wars, you felt when you were moving from Tatooine to other places, the Death Star, etc. You felt like you were moving around a universe that had a geography.
Mhm.
And in this film, the way they used light speed as a kind of instant subway from everywhere to everywhere compressed that in a way that took away some of that interstellar geography.
Because it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
There
and
was no, we're going to be in light speed for an hour and have a conversation.
Or 3
then.
days,
It-
to get from Tatooine to
it's like there's that
Alderaan.
it's like that bit in I think it's Empire when Leia said they don't happen often, but you have your moments, and she gives him a kiss on the cheek.
Mhm.
And that's this moment of peace while they're waiting to get from one
Mhm.
place to another. Which helps with that geography. That being said, Abrams takes a lot of moments in Force Awakens, and I really appreciated this to have moments of quiet,
Mhm.
which I thought was great.
It was the kind of up and down.
Uh-huh.
It was a really nice sine wave that built gradually over the whole
Totally.
movie.
In relation to the geography, I'm really glad he didn't go back to the names of the planets we knew. He didn't do Tatooine, Hoth, Coruscant. Even the Republic planet that gets blown up
Yeah.
is not Coruscant.
It's not Coruscant.
It's not Coruscant.
okay.
It's the
Coruscant?
Hothian system.
Coruscant.
The planet.
It's Coruscant, not with a hard C on the
No,
side.
no hard C.
Back in ILM, we used to say Coruscant, but maybe the movie hadn't come out yet, so we didn't know.
It's both Han and Han.
I get so much shit for saying Han.
Han
I
dies
said
at
Han
the end
all
of
over my MythBusters.
You know,
Star Wars
he's called
episodes.
Han in the movie.
Well, it's I
Lando Calrissian calls him Han every single
Yeah.
time. Han, old buddy.
Han,
right.
old buddy.
BB-8.
BB-8. Dude, I had no idea how much I would love BB-8 as a character.
I walked out of that movie and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go buy one of those Spheros now. I can't help it.
It's
He's just so
He's a
nice.
terrific characterization and a lovely, like, first of all, thank you for not giving us too much C-3PO.
Oh, his cameo, and I would call
Perfect
it cameo.
length.
Perfect.
Perfect length. But BB-8 as an update of R2, of a cute robotic character with a real personality.
A puppy.
Jesus Christ, at the point where Finn's like, come on, tell her where it is. And she tells him, and he gives him the thumbs up, and BB-8
It's a
sticks out
fire
the lighter.
thumb.
So awesome. And I tell you that when I make a BB-8, because I figure that's really a fait accompli, I'm just gonna have to make one. He's gonna have to have a little lighter thumbs up.
Oh yeah, lighter
So
thumbs up.
the thing I love most about BB-8 is that he fixes the design problems with R2. Like,
Right.
R2 is clearly designed to walk around on metal, smooth floors.
Yes, with no
Nowhere
stairs.
else, no stairs, no
Well,
even
In the
steep
Star Wars
ramps,
universe, there's no paper and no steps.
no guardrails.
And this goes to the puppetry, and you have to appreciate the way BB-8 was designed. In elegant form, two circles, which is when an artist draws a figure, any figure, you have basically two circles, a body and a head.
Right.
But the puppetry of BB-8 is amazing, both in the animator on the CG side and also
The practical.
the practical. When Rey hunts Finn down with a stick and says he's a thief, BB-8 is growling off to the side. That is a real puppet being moved around. When BB-8 rolls down the staircase in Maz's castle, when Rey finds the lightsaber, and he's in the background, or he or she, I don't know if BB-8, but he dips down, looks down, and then walks down the stairs.
But he's also using the momentum of his head's center weight to change his center of gravity. I've rolled big things downstairs, and that was dead perfect. Not like all of a sudden I have rockets in my legs.
Well, the thing that was great, actually about the whole film, I had a hard time. I knew intellectually what was going to be CG and what was going to be practical. Couldn't tell by looking.
There was actually a
couple of places.
Go ahead, Nora.
Yeah, and then BB-8, I think if you compare BB-8 with Wall-E, I think these are two huge achievements in character and personality without having to say a single word.
Well, a lot of BB-8 is Ben Burt too. I mean, Ben Burt did the sound for BB-8, right?
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader did the voice. Basically, J.J. Abrams had an iPad app hitting buttons, and Bill Hader made noises into a voice box. Yeah, Bill Hader did
That's amazing. I had no idea. I
so-
love that.
So did Ben Burt wasn't involved at all in the sound and the
I'm
folding
not sure
and all that
who
stuff? Or no?
the sound engineers were.
I noticed something about the way Abrams handles CG
Okay.
that I hadn't noticed before. So obviously for this film, they're creating what you call set extensions. So the actors are on a set that extends to about 2-3 feet above their head, and then the digital CG artists are augmenting and putting the whole world in there. And they did a ton of practical sets and practical, the Millennium Falcon they built full scale for real in England, etc. But there were some huge CG landscapes in the film. And one of the things I think I noticed was that Abrams, when he was giving you a full CG landscape, would often give you, in forced perspective right up front, a piece of that landscape in such high, beautiful detail with light falling across it and a textural clarity that you were like, oh, that looks totally real. And then you bought the entire thing.
The shots of Jakku, specific, the AT-AT walker when it's laying on its side and she set up camp there. It drops down and you see the whole world behind it, but you
That
have
was one of the places I got misty, seeing her camping in the shadow of an AT-AT.
And she lived inside of it.
Yeah.
And scratching, and she had a doll and with a helmet. It's a photography, foreground, background work together. Should we talk about gripes at all? And I want to talk speculation at the very end. I have one gripe.
Okay.
Captain Phasma completely wasted.
Well, she's set up for sequels.
I know she's coming back.
I wanted more out of Captain Phasma.
I wanted more. And I can tell you where I could have wanted more without giving her too much character.
Do you have some weird fantasy about Captain Phasma?
I think they built
Does your
her
special
up.
lady friend have a mirrored stormtrooper armor?
I think that they built.
Poor
I mean,
Norm.
in the
We're bad
trailer,
people.
in the teaser, it's such a great character design.
It is.
And even in the story, when you talk about clones and not clones, and she says, her troopers are bred from birth and programmed.
Yeah.
Like she could have been a leader, a commando of stormtroopers. Make the stormtroopers badass by having her lead them. And two, she gets turned into a joke. Like her payoff is the trash compactor. Chewie tackles her. Make that a fight. Give her some physical presence.
There could be. I enjoyed that joke immensely. Is there a trash compactor? Yeah, there is. And that was a nice callback to the sanitation worker.
There were like maybe 20% too many nice callbacks in this film.
I disagree. So
the planet at the end was a Death Star.
Well, it's called Star Killer, which is just a Death Star.
It was a planet-sized Death Star instead of a moon-sized Death Star.
And wasn't Star Killer one of Luke's early names?
Star Killer was one of Luke's early names. Oh, it's called back.
Look, I'm going to watch this film again. I have to tell you that for me, the emotional impact of the film turned off most of my critical faculties.
Well, of course.
Like, they just didn't hit. As far as I could tell the first time I saw it, there wasn't a wrong moment in the film. And then I started to think about some of the things that might have been weak here and there. But frankly, god damn, what a fun...
So my big gripe, and it's a pretty substantial one, is that the relationship between Kylo Ren / Ben and Han was and the pay, when Kylo Ren kills Han, maybe Han helps. It's kind of unclear. Totally unearned. I thought that was completely unearned.
Well, maybe they're going to earn it in the next film.
Flashback.
That we're going to see more about how Snoke lured Kylo Ren.
Is Snoke enormous, or was that just the Emperor's hollow projection setting?
He's enormous.
I hope he's enormous.
He's enormous. That's so
His
cool.
His face was the one problem I had with the film.
Like all the jacked up scarring and stuff?
Well, I felt like, and there's a little bit of it in Lupita Nyong'o's character.
Yeah. She looked a little CG.
Whenever I'm looking at a fully CG face, I feel like I'm being dragged sometimes into Hobbit land, into Weta Workshops. There's something about the full animation of a face, of a non-human face. There's like an alien uncanny valley.
It wasn't uncanny
a couple
enough.
of times.
Yeah, and like she didn't have the hair is tough to do on those faces. That was Andy Serkis as Snoke.
Really? Where's Max von Sydow?
So Max von
Sydow was in the first.
He's in the first 5. So
he's the one who gives the thing.
He has the MacGuffin and hands it to Poe.
Yeah.
So there are mysteries in the movie, and I'm glad J.J. Abrams didn't answer all the mysteries, because I'm sure we'll get some at the end.
Oh yeah.
When Han says, "Where did you get the lightsaber?" and Maz has a perfect response. That's a great question for another time.
Right.
That's a great way to say this is not the right time to explain that.
That could be something from another. That could be in one of the other films.
I'm sure that's an anthology film. Yeah.
And then so when but Max von Sydow, such a big actor, also like I don't think he was wasted, but I think there's a lot of mystery there. He was the actor where I thought he was either going to be a villain or some callback. In the opening scroll, it says that the most daring pilot of the Resistance, Poe Dameron, is sent to find an old ally. So
there's another anthology film
who discovered this key to Luke Skywalker, and then Max von Sydow has a great exchange with Kylo Ren, where he says, and with Poe Dameron, she's royalty, talking about Leia, and also says, "I know where you come from."
Right.
So there's some interesting mystery there.
Yeah, totally. And I don't mean to say that the animation was bad on
Maz and
Snoke. It actually was wonderful, and Serkis's characterization and the face mapping is beautiful. It's just this slight thing that I think that hasn't quite been solved filmically of that alien face.
So Snoke didn't bother me at all, because I think the hologram, the hologram filter that they put on him, kind of made me
and I loved how big it was. I loved the size.
I hope he's huge. I hope he's like 30 feet tall.
Wouldn't that be the best?
Oh, it'd be so cool if there's all of a sudden giants for no apparent reason in Star Wars. The Maz thing, I didn't have a problem with her until she took the glasses off. Oh. When she took the glasses off, it became hard to like. That's when my uncanny valley sense tripped.
That Wookiee.
Yes, that's a great.
She's so good.
Where's my boyfriend?
When there's the action sequence on the freighter, where the smuggling freighter, and they have the two guys from the Raid, the movies.
Oh, is that
the Raid and the Raid 2? And it's just a cameo. They don't do any martial arts. That took me a little out of it, because I was hoping that there would be some space martial arts going on there. Yeah. So speculation. This movie obviously ends on a cliffhanger. It's literally a helicopter shot that's filmed differently than the entire movie.
The First Orders. Oh wait, I actually also want to point out wonderful work by Mr. Gleason. Brendan Gleeson's son, who played the admiral.
Yes.
Next
what a year for him.
Kylo Ren.
Ex Machina.
And both him and Oscar Isaacson from Ex Machina in this film.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, he played
and he
perfect
was terrific.
Sniveling.
So there's something that I thought was really great about Star Wars that doesn't exist in the later films is Vader is not the supreme leader.
The Tarkin
yeah,
Vader
the
push
Tarkin
pull.
Vader
Yeah.
push pull was wonderful, and he replicated that.
I think that was like having just watched those first movies before going into this. I was like this is a really important thing.
And also, I loved Kylo Ren's tantrums.
Oh.
With the stormtroopers turning around and walking away
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
and then it destroys the whole thing and goes,
Well,
was there anything else?
I mean, that's one of the jokes. That's got to be the joke of the Empire, right? Is like you go serve on Darth Vader's spaceship. Pretty good chance you're going to get choked to death, right?
Just, you don't want.
And JJ just
probably
acknowledges it.
It's like working at HuffPo, right?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Wow.
Well, I guess we're going to edit that out. Adam's got a new column coming up soon.
No.
Speculation.
You could edit that out.
Yeah. I can.
More.
Sorry, Norm.
So speculation for next time. A lot of theories. What is Rey's origin? Is she connected in somehow?
She's Luke's kid.
I
Well,
don't think she's going to.
So I think that's the red herring.
I don't think she's.
You think she's just a Force sensitive from nowhere?
I think she's a Force sensitive, just the same way that Anakin was.
So she's a virgin birth powered by
None of
midichlorians?
that's bullshit. None of that.
I think it would be too
None
obvious.
of that.
if
Don't
it
even go
was.
there.
I think you're right, Adam. I think they want to make you think that is, but Maz says these people who left you behind are not going to come back for you. Look to your future, not your past, and your future is a new family. Luke being a new family,
Yeah.
which strongly indicates it's not. And I don't want it to be like Luke also a deadbeat dad leaving a kid on a planet.
Yeah.
Like dad grew up on a desert planet, you have to too. I don't think that's going to be.
But I think there's going to be.
She's
I look
clearly not Han and Leia's kid.
Yes,
Because
I
Leia
agree.
would have known that
Yeah.
she had
Yes.
another
Yeah.
kid,
Yes.
probably.
Yes.
I very much look forward to. Well, somebody else pointed out that I guess one of the things I was reading was like, oh, when Kylo yells traitor, he's not yelling at Finn, he's yelling at Rey. That somehow
Or-
she's his sister. Or
Where
something.
when Kyle says,
Yeah, I
"Tell
don't
me
mind
about
that.
this girl," and somehow that piques his interest. No, I don't think that is
It could be
either.
legend.
What
It
if
could be
Leia was
Jedi
cloned
legend.
off of,
Sorry, go
off
ahead.
of
So
Luke's hand?
here goes. I think Obi-Wan connection to Obi-Wan could be really appropriate.
Yeah.
That's
could
that's
be.
something.
You think Obi-Wan got kind of nasty with somebody on
Obi-Wan's
Jakku?
niece.
Obi-Wan's
Oh, okay.
granddaughter or something, and that would be a fitting
Yeah.
Obi-Wan trained Luke, and
Yeah.
and that would be unexpected. They did have both Sir Alec Guinness's voice in the Vision,
Right.
and Ewan McGregor's voice combined when it says Rey. You know, this is the new
Really?
beginning.
Yeah.
That was they took a cut of
Yeah, they took
Sir Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness is saying the word afraid, and they
Yeah.
took Ray out of that and made it.
Mhm.
I don't know how I
That's
feel
right.
about that. I don't think that's a good thing.
Do you think Alec Guinness's family got points for
I'm
that?
sure somebody got a check, but
At any
I
rate,
still think
I
it's
think
shitty.
that the one thing I know is that there'll be the next film is all going to be, as far as I'm concerned, about Rey and Kylo Ren coming into their full powers.
And maybe something
And-
with Finn.
And yes, obviously,
Yeah.
but Finn will be.
With
They'll
Poe.
be-
I think
buddy cop
Finn and
scene.
Poe will be the B
And
arc.
then
Yeah.
the third film will obviously be the final showdown between Rey and
Mm.
Kylo. No,
I think by the end of the second film, Kylo is going to become good. I think
by the end of the second film,
I think he gets the redemption that
Anakin never
got, and I think he is of the right age that they fight a greater evil, where he becomes the anti-hero,
Oh.
the badass that
All right.
all the kids want to be, because he's on the good side by the end. That he
I
gets the
think this is
redemption.
a fine place to.
Whoa.
What? One there?
So there's a speculation that I believe Will and I read yesterday
Yeah.
that I am absolutely now enamored with.
Which
Now,
speculation?
So this is a point where
I didn't read
you
anything
can
yesterday.
you can turn off the podcast because it is like a DB Cooper moment where remember the Mad Men where people thought Don Draper could have been DB Cooper,
Yeah.
and it was so far fetched, but it made sense.
Yeah.
This one makes so much sense to me that if it ends up being true, I'm gonna be really
Hold on.
disappointed
Jar Jar was the Dark
that
Lord.
I read it.
Go ahead.
So someone said that Luke or Rey is a clone of Luke, a reverse gender
Oh,
clone of Luke.
I didn't
Oh.
hear that, but I mean, I that was one of the things I thought when I saw his hand.
So
Oh, from his hand.
from his
Yeah.
hand, and that Snoke is building the new Clone Wars.
Well, they said there's clones. They introduced
And
clowns in
exactly,
this film.
Clones were introduced.
right,
the
but
idea.
the clones weren't good enough or something.
Exactly.
There's the
And so-
implication that.
and
Well,
so
I think the
think-
idea is that clones don't last long. They have like
Right.
a 10-year lifespan or something.
Since
4-year
Empire,
lifespan.
Yeah.
Snoke has been breeding
Ah.
force sensitive clones,
Yeah.
and this is a discarded one, maybe
Yeah.
one that was escaped, and that she is literally a reincarnation.
And maybe he hired those aliens from AI to work on Tapoka to make some.
If she's if she's a clone, though, then how did the midichlorians get inside her?
To stop with the midichlorians.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just going to punch you in the face.
And that's a good place to leave this one. We'll see you guys next week. Hope you had a good holiday season. Happy New Year. This is our last podcast of 2015, guys.
Is it?
No, we probably have one more.
No, because next week is...
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is. You're right.
It is. The last
one.
podcast of 2015.
Yeah,
It's
have
been
it.
an excellent year.
Happy New Year, folks.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Bye.